Alright, so September 11th, 2001. It was a very defining day for a lot of people. A lot of people lost their lives. And in the coming years, due to the economic turmoil that was almost a direct result of that event, a lot of people lost their jobs. But it also caused a switch of technological and innovation in the airline industry. See, prior to 9/11, airlines were really interested in getting faster planes. So they were going to design planes that looked more like the Concorde that had the triangle wingtips, and they were more interested in speed. But because of the effect that 9/11 had on oil and gas prices and the economy overall, airlines switched their technological innovation purpose to being more fuel efficient. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner is a direct result of that economic switch and the purpose switch, and everything about it is built to be more fuel efficient. And they also had the purpose of making it more luxurious for passengers, because air travel had become a nightmare for a lot of people. And so the Boeing 787 was created to replace the Boeing 767, which I think a lot of people who have traveled by air have gone on that flight, especially if they did country hops. And you can see the difference in the wingspan of both planes. This is the older one with the normal like straight wing, shorter wingspan, and then this is the new Boeing 787 with the wings cut more out, like an albatross, which is actually the natural design that they base these wings off of. And what that causes is that initially airplanes would have to go from one end of the runway to almost like 90% of the runway at the end in order to lift off. But because of these new wings, the Boeing 787 is able to do a short runway takeoff, meaning it abruptly lifts off the air because the wings are so good in lifting its weight. So that's one innovation, and that saves fuel because they don't have to like put the gas pedal all the way down and use a lot of gas just to take off. Now, underneath the airplane, this airplane was a pioneer in the out technology, because before this airplane came about, airplanes were kind of called tin cans because they were made entirely of aluminum. And this is the first airplane where they were able to make it out of carbon fiber composite, which is mostly plastics. So what that does is that reduces the weight at least 90,000 pounds, which also allows for that abrupt takeoff and also helps in the overall travel trip by being lighter, so you use less fuel. Here is another picture of the raked wings. You can see this airliner flying over Hawaii, and you can see how the wings curve a lot more than regular planes. And the wingtips of the wings are really what's key here, is because they reduce drag. So their primary function is to reduce drag of the airplane, and that allows it to conserve fuel and fly faster. So all these innovations on the exterior of the plane, which also includes some new Rolls-Royce engines that are very more fuel efficient and have noise canceling features, they're all combined to reduce costs for airline consumers for 20% reduction in costs. So that 20% reduction in fuel costs is what attracts airlines like United Airlines, All Nippon Airways, which is ANA, Japan Airlines, and Qatar Airways to buy at least 250 of these planes from Boeing. And that was really the selling factor for this plane. And I'm just going to turn off the light really quickly so you can see this picture. This is showing how they kind of re-innovated the interior of airplanes, because before they used to be really boring, and by the time you came out of the airplane you felt even more tired than you were before. This is designed specifically to help you relax. The kind of circular architecture, and it's very futuristic, and they have mood lighting as well, which change colors throughout the flight to change the mood. And here's a picture of a luxurious, fully stocked bar that some of the airplanes have, especially on Qatar Airlines. That's it. All the information in the presentation were derived from Boeing's website itself and low from Wikipedia.
All right, Neil, I like the introduction, the reference to 9/11 and how everything had to change, and the economics of the airline industry. Building of the new airplanes makes a lot of sense, where you're talking about the fuel costs. I think there's some data that probably gets missing there. For example, how much impact it had on the cost of flying, or the impact that it's had on, for instance, passengers. I suspect, for example, a lot of the regulations on luggage have to do with trying to control the weight of the plane and reduce all those sorts of things. And this is, obviously things have changed quite a bit. And so I think there's some other things that you could put in there to make it a little bit more interesting. But the subject I thought was great, and you had a nice transition to that subject. The body of the speech is developed pretty well. You're dependent on the visuals to mostly kind of guide you through what it is you're talking about. You know the material pretty well. I thought you did an excellent job explaining it. I don't get the source citations during the presentation. I'm going to rake you on the coals a little bit, because at the end of the speech, what you're doing is, instead of your conclusion being the end of the speech, leaving us with this, kind of impactful statement, the end of your speech is like footnotes. And, the footnotes, one of the footnotes is Wikipedia, which I don't mind if you get some information there that you then use to do additional research, but I don't really want people quoting Wikipedia, so I'm going to kick you in the shins a little bit on that. And let's face it, you want to leave a good impression, and footnotes don't leave a good impression. They're in the speech. You want to cite the content where you're presenting it rather than kind of at the end. That just feels like a tag-on sort of thing. So I thought that was a little bit problematic. The visual factors, I think that you are speaking effectively from the spot that you picked to talk from. Your gestures are okay. Your facial expressions are okay. I thought your eye contact was really very good. Your use of the visuals, I think, is integrated well into the presentation. You know the material well, like I said before, so you're not really depending on a script. You're talking to us for the most part, and that's really effective. The voice elements of the speech, I think, are really solid. I might ding you a little bit on your appearance. The t-shirt's a little casual for speaking day, so you might want to doll it up a little bit for people, but don't overdo it. You don't have to put on a jacket and tie. I didn't see any examples of things that I would suggest or would suggest anxiety. It seems really well prepared for the most part, and except for that kind of stumble at the end where you're doing something that feels like it's just got nothing to do with the speech, except of course, and I've got this perfunctory stuff that I have to include here. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, it's just cite your material when you're presenting it, not at the end. It's not footnotes. You don't want to put footnotes in your speech. They should be, the citation should be during the presentation, not at the end. Okay, thank you.